Money can't buy happiness, but in Philadelphia's affluent Riverside Heights community, it could certainly rent a convincing imitation. This observation, made by Detective Laura Bennett during the Morrison investigation, would prove prophetic. Behind the pristine facades and manicured lawns of 2847 Riverside Heights Boulevard, the Morrison family had mastered the art of appearance. Until Christmas Eve 2023 shattered more than just their holiday decorations. Welcome to Crime Canvas, where we paint the full picture of crimes that shock communities and reveal the darkness hiding behind closed doors. If you find value in our deep investigations and want us to continue bringing you these carefully researched stories, please subscribe to our channel. Your subscription motivates and encourages us to give our best in every episode we create. David Morrison, at 38, embodied the American tech success story. A senior software architect at IBM's Philadelphia office, his $180,000 annual salary afforded him the trappings of upper-middle-class success. His colleagues described him as methodical, brilliant with code, and unfailingly polite. David was the person who remembered everyone's birthday, recalled team leader Robert Walsh. He'd bring in coffee for the whole team during crunch times, never lost his cool, never raised his voice. But David's composed exterior masked deeper wounds. At 12, he watched his father collapse from a sudden heart attack during a Little League game. That moment, captured on home video, showed young David frozen on the pitcher's mound as chaos erupted around him. It was his uncle, Richard Morrison, who rushed from the stands to shield David from the scene. That same uncle would become both David's salvation and ultimately his destruction. Rebecca Morrison, formerly Rebecca Hamilton, at 35, out-earned her husband, a fact she carefully avoided mentioning at charity functions and church events. Her real estate portfolio boasted the highest closure rate in Philadelphia's northern suburbs. Her annual income of $230,000 funded a lifestyle that turned heads even in wealthy Riverside Heights. Her Instagram feed showcased a carefully curated life. Designer outfits, charity events, perfect family portraits. Rebecca had this way of making everything look effortless, her former assistant Jennifer Adams noted. But there were cracks if you knew where to look. Those cracks included a history of depression, carefully managed with medication and therapy, stemming from a childhood of crushing expectations at Pennsylvania's most exclusive private schools. At the center of the Morrison family orbit was 9-year-old Sophie, a precocious third grader whose schedule rivaled that of a corporate executive. Ballet on Mondays and Wednesdays, piano lessons Tuesdays and Thursdays, gifted program studies, and French tutoring on weekends. Her school picture showed a gap-toothed smile that masked exhaustion. Sophie was always trying to please everyone, her ballet instructor would later tell investigators. She had this old soul look in her eyes, like she understood more than she should. But it was Sophie's special bond with her great-uncle Richard that would later draw investigator scrutiny. Richard Morrison, at 63, cut an imposing figure in Philadelphia's social circles. A retired corporate executive with a net worth of $4.5 million, his position on the church board and various philanthropic endeavors made him seemingly untouchable. Widowed 5 years earlier, he had smoothly transitioned from corporate power broker to community patriarch. Richard had this way of making everyone feel like they were the most important person in the room, recalled Pastor Daniel Foster. Especially young women starting their careers. He called it mentoring. We should have asked more questions. The Morrison family's public image was a masterclass in upper-class perfection. Their annual Christmas card, sent to over 200 carefully selected recipients, showed them posed on their wraparound porch. David in a tailored suit, Rebecca in designer fashion, Sophie in custom clothing, and Uncle Richard standing patriarchally behind them. The 2023 version would later become evidence. Its message, peace and joy from our family to yours, taking on a grim irony. Their home life appeared equally immaculate. The 4,800-square-foot colonial hosted dinner parties were Rebecca's gourmet, cooking earned raves. David's wine cellar boasted bottles that impressed even veteran collectors. Sophie's recitals in their converted music room drew admiring crowds. and Richard, ever present, acted as both benefactor and guardian of the family legacy. Financial records would later reveal the complex web binding the family together. Richard had provided the down payment for their home through a family trust. He'd funded Sophie's education account and held silent partnership in David's side tech ventures. His mentoring of Rebecca had helped launch her real estate career, his connections opening doors that would normally have remained closed to newcomers. The Morrisons were what everyone aspired to be, observed Helen Carter, their next-door neighbor. They had it all. Money looks success. Nobody saw the pressure building. Nobody wanted to. That pressure took subtle forms. David's late nights at the office explained away as coding deadlines. Rebecca's increasing dependence on anti-anxiety medication, disguised as migraine pills. Sophie's quiet withdrawals, attributed to academic stress. And Richard's ever more frequent presence in their home, justified by his role as family patriarch. Every Sunday, at precisely 6 p.m., the Morrison family gathered for dinner at 2847 Riverside Heights Boulevard. These weren't casual family meals, but carefully orchestrated performances, with Rebecca Morrison orchestrating each detail like a symphony conductor. Richard insisted on saying grace, recalled Maria Torres, the Morrisons' former housekeeper. He'd hold Sophie's hand on one side, Rebecca's on the other. Sometimes I'd catch Mrs. Morrison's hand trembling, but she'd never pull away. Never. The weekly dinners served as more than just family gatherings. They were business meetings disguised as family time, where Richard Morrison wielded his influence with subtle precision. Over roasted duck and vintage wine, he guided David's career trajectory, approved Rebecca's real estate ventures, and shaped Sophie's educational future. The dining room, with its antique furniture and crystal chandelier, became command central for the Morrison family empire. Financial records would later reveal the intricate web of dependencies Richard had woven. His initial $500,000 investment in David's tech startup came with strings attached, strings that bound the young engineer to his uncle's influence. The family trust, established after Richard's wife Dorothy passed away, gave him control over significant aspects of their financial lives. The trust was structured brilliantly, noted forensic accountant Thomas Green. Richard maintained control while appearing generous. The Morrisons' home, their cars, Sophie's private school tuition, all tied to trust disbursements that Richard could adjust at will. Property records showed joint ownership arrangements that raised red flags only in hindsight. The vacation home in the Poconos, the rental properties in Center City, even the boat slip at the marina, all required Richard's signature for any significant decisions. It was financial handcuffs wrapped in golden paper, Detective Bennett would later observe. The Morrison social calendar revolved around 3 poles: the Riverside Heights Country Club, Grace Presbyterian Church, and the endless circuit of charity events that defined Philadelphia's northern suburbs. Rebecca and David maintained elite membership status at the club, where Richard had served on the board for 2 decades. Their family tennis matches, meticulously photographed for social media, showed perfect form and coordinated outfits. At Grace Presbyterian, the Morrisons occupied the 3rd pew from the front, left side, prime real estate in the social hierarchy of Sunday services. Richard's position as church elder gave the family an aura of moral authority. Brother Richard, as he was known in church circles, championed youth programs and counseled young couples. His own family serving as a model of Christian values. The Morrisons were everywhere, noted Sandra Phillips, editor of the local society pages. Every charity event, every school fundraiser, every community gathering. Rebecca chaired 3 different boards. David handled the tech for nonprofit websites. Richard wrote the big checks. They were philanthropy's first family. Their holiday traditions epitomized their social standing. The annual Christmas Eve dinner at the Morrison home was the crown jewel of the season's social calendar. Invitations, embossed on cream cardstock, were coveted by Riverside Heights elite. Rebecca's menu planning began months in advance, each course designed to showcase their sophistication while maintaining appropriate holiday warmth. Everything had to be perfect, remembered Jennifer Adams, Rebecca's assistant. The Christmas tree had to be exactly 9 feet tall. The ornaments were color-coded by year. Even the guests were arranged strategically. Business contacts near Richard, potential clients near Rebecca, children's parents near David. Gift giving in the Morrison household followed strict protocols. Presents were wrapped in coordinating papers, sorted by recipient, and arranged artfully under the tree. Richard always presented his gifts last, a power play disguised as tradition. For Christmas 2023, he had planned something special, a fact that would later take on dark significance. Social media captured their perfectly curated life. Rebecca's Instagram showed candid moments that required hours of preparation. David's LinkedIn chronicled professional achievements, each one endorsed by Uncle Richard. Even Sophie had a carefully monitored presence on kid-friendly platforms, her activities painting a picture of privileged childhood bliss. The Morrisons' business connections extended throughout Philadelphia's corporate landscape. Richard's retirement from his executive position hadn't diminished his influence. He maintained offices in 3 locations, held board positions at tech startups, and continued mentoring young professionals. His backing opened doors for David in the tech world and gave Rebecca access to high-end real estate listings. Richard Morrison didn't just create opportunities, noted business associate William Scott. He created dependencies. Every favor came with invisible strings. The weekly dinners were where he pulled those strings. But beneath the polished surface, strained lines were forming. Security footage from the country club captured tense conversations between Rebecca and Richard in secluded corners. Church members noticed David's increasing absences from Sunday services. Sophie's teachers reported the child drawing disturbing pictures in art class. Dark figures looming over dinner tables. If you're finding this investigation compelling and want to see more content like this, please take a moment to subscribe to Crime Canvas. Your support directly helps us continue producing these in-depth examinations of cases that matter. We pour our hearts into every episode, and your subscription truly makes a difference. February 14th, 2023. Valentine's Day. While David Morrison worked late at IBM's Philadelphia office, debugging code for a critical project, his wife Rebecca sat across from his Uncle Richard at La Bellevue, their reflections dancing in candlelight. Security footage from the restaurant's entrance would later show Richard Morrison's hand lingering on Rebecca's lower back as he guided her inside. A gesture too intimate for family. They requested the private dining room, recalled sommelier Andre Baptiste. Mr. Morrison ordered the 1985 Bordeaux, $850 a bottle. Mrs. Morrison seemed nervous, kept checking her phone. When I brought the wine, her lipstick was smudged. The first text message that would later surface in the investigation was sent that night at 11:47 p.m. Richard, you looked beautiful tonight. This could be our secret. Rebecca, we shouldn't have, but I don't regret it. Their affair ignited like a carefully controlled burn, each move calculated. Richard, at 63, had perfected the art of discretion through years of mentoring younger women. Rebecca, trapped in the gilded cage of her perfect life, fell into the pattern with surprising ease. The initial meetings were disguised as business consultations. A prominent real estate agent seeking advice from a respected community leader. March brought a pattern of regular encounters. The Philadelphia Harbor Hotel became their preferred meeting spot, Richard booking Suite 2847, a detail that would later send chills down investigator spines, matching their house number. Hotel records showed 16 visits between March and June. Always mid-afternoon, always paid in cash. Mrs. Morrison had a specific routine, noted hotel concierge Samuel Rodriguez. She'd arrive first, using the service entrance. Mr. Morrison, the uncle, would come through the main lobby 30 minutes later. They never left together. Financial trails began emerging despite their caution. Richard established a private account at Philadelphia Trust Bank, depositing $10,000 monthly. Rebecca received a black credit card linked to this account, its statements showing purchases at high-end boutiques, jewelry stores, and day spas. April witnessed their first near exposure at a charity event for Grace Presbyterian. David noticed Rebecca wearing an unfamiliar diamond bracelet. It's from the real estate board, she explained smoothly. recognition for top sales. The bracelet's receipt, later discovered, showed Richard's signature and an $18,000 price tag. By summer, their meetings had developed a sophisticated choreography. Rebecca's assistant Jennifer maintained 2 calendars. The public one showing client meetings, the private one marked with simple R entries. Richard cited meditation retreats to explain his absences from church functions, while actually booking private villas in the Pocono Mountains. Looking at the credit card statements, you can trace their growing boldness, noted Detective Bennett. First local hotels, then weekend getaways. Restaurant receipts for 2 at intimate venues. Jewelry purchases. He was marking his territory with gold and diamonds. September brought a dangerous escalation. Richard arranged for Rebecca to handle the real estate listing for a luxury condo in Center City. The property, purchased through a shell company, became their private refuge. Security footage showed them entering the building at odd hours, Rebecca often carrying overnight bags. October 12th marked their closest call. David, bringing Sophie home early from a canceled piano lesson, nearly caught them in the family living room. Rebecca's quick thinking, claiming Richard had stopped by to discuss Christmas charity plans, saved them. 9-year-old Sophie, however, noted something odd in her diary. Mommy's hair was messy. Uncle Richard had lipstick on his cheek. The holiday season pushed them toward recklessness. The affair, previously contained to weekday afternoons, spilled into evening events. At the country club's Christmas celebration, security cameras captured them in the coat check room, emerging separately with guilty faces. 3 days later, they shared a passionate kiss in the church parking lot, not realizing the new security system was recording. Text messages from this period show increasing emotional entanglement. Rebecca, I can't keep pretending at these family dinners. Richard, just a few more weeks. I have plans for us. Rebecca, what about Sophie? About David? Richard, trust me. I'll take care of everything. December brought a frenzy of secret meetings. Hotel records show 7 different bookings in 2 weeks. Richard withdrew $60,000 from his private account. Rebecca began researching international schools, her browser history revealing searches for private academies in Switzerland. The Christmas party circuit provided perfect cover for their encounters. As pillars of the community, both Rebecca and Richard were expected at every major event. They developed signals. A touched diamond necklace meant meet in 15 minutes. A straightened tie indicated not tonight. The signs were all there, reflected Pastor Foster. Richard stopped attending elder meetings. Rebecca missed choir practice. They both seemed distracted during services. We attributed it to holiday stress. Their final documented meeting occurred on December 23, 2023, at the Center City condo. Security footage shows Rebecca arriving at 2:45 p.m., leaving at 7 p.m. Richard departed an hour later, carrying a small gift-wrapped package. The jewelry box that would later be found in the Christmas Eve chaos. Evidence collected after the incident painted a picture of escalating passion and recklessness. 2,963 text messages exchanged between February and December. 52 hotel room bookings under various aliases. $412,000 in gifts and transfers from Richard to Rebecca. 27 different meeting locations throughout Philadelphia. 14 near-discovery incidents. 1 secret property purchased. The affair had transformed from stolen moments to an elaborate parallel life, complete with its own routines and rituals. Richard and Rebecca created a world within their world, hidden behind the perfect family facade, until one Christmas Eve text message brought everything crashing down. What fascinates me, noted criminal psychologist Dr. Claire Anderson, is how they maintain their public roles. Rebecca still hosted Sunday dinners. Richard still led prayers. They sat at opposite ends of the table, passing dishes, discussing church business, while carrying this explosive secret. December 23, 2023, 3:24 p.m. David Morrison sat in his home office, surrounded by half-wrapped Christmas presents, when his world began to unravel. His wife's phone, left carelessly on his desk while she ran errands, lit up with a message preview. Richard, Missing you already. Those 3 hours weren't enough. The rest disappeared into the locked screen. But those 9 words shattered 2 decades of trust. David's hands trembled as he stared at the phone, his mind refusing to connect the dots that his heart had already aligned. Richard, his uncle, his mentor, his surrogate father, and Rebecca. I remember the moment I saw Mr. Morrison through my window that afternoon, recalled neighbor Helen Carter. He was standing in his office, completely still, holding a phone like it was a live grenade. I remember because it seemed odd, him being home early, not moving for so long. What followed was 18 hours of methodical destruction of ignorance. David, the software architect who built systems to detect patterns, applied his analytical mind to unraveling his life's greatest bug. First, the phone. Rebecca's password, Sophie's birthday, granted access to 2 years of deleted texts, restored through a recovery app he'd helped develop. The messages painted a devastating picture. Richard, March 15th, the way you looked in that red dress at dinner. Rebecca, April 22nd, David's working late again. Richard, September 8th, I've never felt this way about anyone. By 4:45 p.m., David had downloaded every message, every photo, every location ping. His IBM colleagues would later note he'd simultaneously submitted 3 crucial code updates during these hours. Automation masking devastation. The banking records came next. David's position on the church finance committee gave him access to accounts others might miss. Hidden transfers, secret credit cards, hotel charges disguised as business expenses. Each discovery was methodically documented in a spreadsheet he titled Christmas_receipts_2023. The level of detail in his documentation was chilling, noted Detective Bennett. Timestamps, account numbers, coordinates from location data. He approached his own destruction like a research project. By midnight, David had accessed their home security system's cloud storage. For cameras, installed to keep Sophie safe, revealed dozens of clandestine meetings. Richard visiting when David worked late. Rebecca and Richard in intimate moments in the kitchen, the living room, even his home office. Each betrayal cataloged, time-stamped, backed up to 3 separate drives. December 24th dawned cold and clear. While Rebecca slept upstairs, David sat in their kitchen, drinking coffee, watching their Christmas tree lights blink. He'd arranged for a private investigator at 6 a.m. Kevin Walsh, a former colleague who owed him a favor. He was eerily calm, Walsh later testified. Handed me a USB drive with evidence and said, "Verify everything. I need to be sure before dinner tonight." His hands were steady, but his coffee cup was full. He wasn't drinking, just holding like a prop. Walsh's report arrived by noon, adding professional validation to personal anguish. Credit card statements showed jewelry purchases, hotel bookings, restaurant dates. Security footage from the Center City condo revealed patterns of visits. Witness statements from hotel staff, valets, restaurant servers, all confirming what David already knew. Rebecca spent the morning in Christmas preparations, oblivious to her unraveling world. She baked cookies with Sophie, hung last-minute decorations, confirmed dinner arrangements for 7 guests. Each domestic act now read like a performance to David's watching eyes. "Mommy, can I open just one present early?" Sophie begged, pointing to the pile under the tree. "Christmas Eve dinner first, sweetheart," Rebecca replied, shooting a warm smile at David that now felt like another betrayal. Tradition is tradition. At 2 p.m., David orchestrated Sophie's departure to her grandparents' house, an annual tradition that would now protect her from witnessing what was to come. He helped her pack her overnight bag, including her Christmas morning dress and patent leather shoes. "Daddy, are you okay? You're hugging me too tight," Sophie said as they said goodbye. "I love you, princess. Remember that," he replied, watching his daughter disappear into her grandmother's car, waving through the window. Rebecca busied herself with dinner preparations, checking her phone frequently, each glance now a twist of a knife in his chest. He observed her from his office, noting how she touched up her makeup more than usual for a family dinner, chose her outfit with extra care. On his laptop, the evidence sat meticulously organized in folders. each one a digital archive of betrayal. At 6:45 p.m., he received a final email from his private investigator. Latest footage from Center City Condo, December 23rd. Are you sure about tonight? We can handle this differently. David's response was simple. Dinner will be served at 7 o'clock. He watched Rebecca arrange name cards at the dining table, placing Richard at his usual head position. The turkey roasted in the oven, filling the house with deceptively festive aromas. Christmas music played through their smart speakers. Silent Night, on repeat, because Sophie had set it as her favorite. Everything has to be perfect tonight, Rebecca said, adjusting a Christmas centerpiece. Richard is bringing some important church board members. David nodded, thinking of the evidence folder labeled perfect_lies. At 6:50 p.m., he went upstairs to change for dinner. In their bedroom, he could smell Rebecca's perfume, the one Richard had bought her in September, according to the credit card statements. On her nightstand, a small wrap package waited, tag for later, R. He took one final look at their family photo on the wall. David, Rebecca, Sophie, and Richard, taken at last year's Christmas service. For smiling faces, 3 weeks of investigation, 2 decades of trust, one night to shatter it all. The doorbell would ring at 7 p.m. Richard would enter first, carrying wine and secrets. Other guests would follow, and David Morrison, armed with evidence and anguish, would serve more than just Christmas dinner. Before we continue with what happened that fateful Christmas Eve, I want to remind you that Crime Canvas depends on viewers like you. If this story is resonating with you, please consider subscribing. It truly helps us continue producing these detailed, respectful examinations of complex cases. The guests arrived in elegant waves, shaking snow from their coats and exclaiming over the house's decorations. Pastor Daniel Foster and his wife brought wine and platitudes about the beauty of family tradition. The Carters from next door entered cautiously, Helen's eyes darting between hosts as if sensing the approaching storm. And then Richard arrived, resplendent in his Sunday best, carrying expensive wine and a small package that disappeared into his coat pocket with practiced smoothness. Dinner began as a masterpiece of civility. The turkey emerged golden and perfect, its aroma mixing with pine from the Christmas tree and the sweet scent of vanilla candles. Wine flowed freely while Richard held court at the table's head, regaling guests with stories of past Christmases. Each word that fell from his lips landed like acid on David's skin, eating through the last layers of his patience. The facade cracked with a single text message chime. Rebecca's phone, forgotten face up beside her plate, betrayed her with a preview that everyone could see. Richard, after dessert. The guest bathroom. 5 minutes. David rose slowly, deliberately. His laptop appeared in his hands like a weapon. The evidence unfolded in brutal precision against the dining room wall. Hotel receipts, bank statements, security footage, all projected onto the perfect cream paint beside the carefully hung wreaths.